Might wonder. Might wonder. Chocolate. Bite-sized cat chocolate center. Milk chocolate. Bite-sized cat chocolate center. The M&M's can only all new M's. The M&M's can bite-sized candies. M's. The M&M's can only all new M's. The M&M's can
I'd say that's a wrap.
This podcast is hosted on podhome.fm, the most modern podcast hosting platform. Podhome offers unlimited episodes and podcasts, and unlimited use of Podhome AI, which generates transcripts, clips, chapters, title suggestions, show notes, and much more. And all of that for just $15.99 a month or $185 per year. That's a steal. So go to podhome.fm and start your 30-day trial now. And enjoy the show with Joe.
Live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas, it's the Joe Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
Alrighty, hey folks, this is Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you once again, transmitting live from the Asylum, and of course, as always, doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we could muster, without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rooz Show. All right, well folks, I hope you guys are ready for tonight's guest. It's going to be really interesting conversation, very important conversation, because we're going to be discussing some really important issues actually when it comes to life, when it comes to building a business, because what happens when the business that you spent years building disappears overnight? Now, my guest is author and entrepreneur Sandy Malone, who lost her Caribbean destination wedding company to Hurricane Maria and had to completely reinvent her life and career from the ground up. Now, folks, tonight we're talking about resilience. We're talking about entrepreneurship, illusion versus reality, and, you know, the hard truths that people don't really want to hear about chasing the dream. But of course, as always, before we get into it tonight, we are going to take care of some of the usual housekeeping that we do. So if you would, please head over to our website, joerooz.com. That's joerooz.com. When you get over there, look for that contact form. It's up in the upper little right-hand corner pancake there. You can open that thing up, open up the contact form, send me off a message. Let me know whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you might have. Maybe you have a complaint. I mean, you shouldn't have any complaints at all, but maybe you do. You can always send that over to us, and we'll give it the just attention that it deserves. And then, of course, maybe you have a suggestion for a guest or a particular topic you'd like us to discuss. We would love to hear from you guys. So use the contact form. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't like the contact forms because of those stupid CAPTCHA things. You know, match the ponies and the fire hydrants and the crosswalks and all that nonsense. I get it. That's why we have an email address. You can always email me directly at info@joerooz.com. That's info@joerooz.com. And then another novel idea is that you can leave a comment down below in the comment section if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube. We would love to hear from you guys. You can also check out the show live, of course, streaming across our website at joerooz.com. Right there on the homepage, we have the audio stream feeding constantly. And then, of course, across all the modern 2.0 platforms like Podhome and Podcast Guru, Fountain.fm, all of those great modern podcasting apps that actually stream the audio live. You can check it out there as well. We would love to hear from you guys there as well. All right. Also, please, very important to remember that this is a live show, weeknight, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have our Sunday show every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time, so please make sure you check those out as well. And equally important as to all of that is to remember to like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. That way you'll help us to spread the love, the joy, the absolute podcast euphoria that comes from our show. So check it out. I crack myself up with these things too, I know. Just check it out. Like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. And then also, look, algorithm, key, very, very, very important, key, algorithm. Sharing the show pisses people off because I'm always in their feed after that. So please keep sharing the show, okay? We would love that. My sister blocks me because I share the show with her so many times. Drives her crazy. She blocks me. She lets the block go, and then I do it again. So it's all fine. It's all fun and good. Annoy somebody. Share the show with them. All right? All right. Now, of course, tonight's connection is brought to you by the folks over at Creative Edge. CreativeEdge.services. Publicity at its finest for all creatives. Your brand, your future. All right. Now, joining us here tonight is Sandy Malone. She is Hello, Sandy. She is a former Caribbean destination wedding planner who spent over a decade helping couples pull off weddings in some of the most challenging environments imaginable. After losing her entire business to Hurricane Maria, she pivoted into writing, media, speaking, bringing a no-nonsense reality check approach to an industry that often sells fantasy over facts, and that is a fact. She's contributed to major outlets like Brides and Huffington Post, and hosted her own podcast. See, I want to ask you about your podcast. And authored both nonfiction and fiction books. Sandy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Are you down there in the Caribbean right now?
No, I am, but I am on a new island. We are on Jekyll Island, Georgia. Have you ever been here?
I have not, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, we're just off the coast of Georgia, a little bit north of Florida. And some people are familiar with Jekyll Island because its history is intriguing. Before World War II, it was a getaway for the millionaires. All the guys you see on that Gilded Age TV show, they'd come down here. They had a club called the Jekyll Club. It was a hunting lodge. And then when too many of their friends were coming down, they got sick of sharing, say, the living room. They all built millionaires' cottages that don't have kitchens because they went to club for meals. And they would come down on their yachts for the winter and spend the winter here. They had hunting, and they called it a year-round resort. In January, I would not be on the beach, but it is beautiful down here. And it was just this gilded sort of hidden place, and you had to take a boat to get here. And World War II, when U-boats started blowing up U.S. merchant vessels along the coast, 1/6 of the world's wealth was here on Jekyll Island. And they said, well, that's not good. Time to evacuate. So they evacuated on trains. It must have been very difficult. They evacuated on trains. And after World War II, the millionaires tried to come back to their club. And the then governor of Georgia handed them a check for $600,000 and said, nope, we've taken your island by eminent domain. It is now a state park. And it is a very cool state park because this historic hotel and all the historic millionaires' homes have been restored. And you can stay in them and get married, and you can tour. And it's gorgeous, and it's limited. There's only 600 houses here on the island.
Oh, really?
And then a few hotels. 65% of the island can never be developed. So we live in a little bubble here. And now we have a causeway and a bridge. But if the end of the world ever comes, first thing we're doing is blowing the bridge. So it's all good.
You got to prevent the zombie apocalypse from reaching you, right?
Well, now see, my husband and the interns did a big analysis on that when we were in the Caribbean. And the interns explained to him that zombies don't need to breathe, so they can walk underwater to get to the island. So the plan was actually to circle the house with treadmills for the zombies, and they would never get past the treadmills.
That's true. And then you know what you can do with that? You could also, you can hook up wiring to that, and you can make yourself generators, because then all the walking trying to get to you.
Brilliant!
You'll have power.
Well, and then some people know Jekyll Island because it was on The Walking Dead.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it's been in a lot of movies. We have Glory Beach. This is where Glory, the movie, was filmed.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of really pretty things that people recognize from movies. Legend of Bagger Vance was filmed here, things like
Oh, was
that.
it? I didn't know that.
Yep. We have 4
interesting.
golf courses.
Ah, that explains it. That does explain it, I guess. And so, what are you doing on there on that little hidden away island right now?
Well, we were in the Caribbean for 11 years planning destination weddings, and Hurricane Maria wiped out Puerto Rico. And we were on Vieques Island, which is 7 miles off the coast of Puerto Rico. We were actually the first place to get hit by the hurricane.
Wow.
And we were really lucky because it was in September. And after enough years in the business, I had stopped planning September weddings because dealing with brides during that section of hurricane season, it could put you in a rubber room. It is, the constant calls. Look at the radar. There's a storm coming. What am I going to do? Oh, my God. Well, the first few years in business, we had to, I took every wedding that wanted to book me. But once we'd been in it a while, we're like, okay, September's our anniversary month. We are going to never stay on the island in September. Take it as our month off. So thank God we weren't there when hurricanes Irma and Maria, one after the other, whomped Puerto Rico. But we helped work all the evacuation stuff and realized we weren't going home. We weren't going to be relaunching the company for a while. Nobody's going to insure you when the hospital is flat and there's no electricity.
Wow, yeah.
And so I went back to writing, and I'd been writing all along in different genres, writing wedding stuff when I was there. But I started as a political reporter and a police beat reporter.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I was.
That wasn't in your bio. We have to talk. Take that up with creative.
Take that up with because I started out. I was a journalism major at the Ohio State University.
Oh, excuse me.
And being campus editor there was a big deal because it was a really big school.
Right.
And you actually got a salary, which was cool. And then when I graduated, I got a full ride to the Institute on Political Journalism at Georgetown.
Okay.
And part of that was an internship at Campaigns and Elections magazine, and that turned into a job. And by the Democratic National Convention in 1996, I'm a new college grad. I'm sitting in the box at the Democratic National Convention doing commentary. It was hilarious. This means do not listen to the people in the box at conventions. They may have just graduated and they know nothing. So from there, I was hired by the Wall Street Journal.
Advice.
Yeah. The Wall Street Journal hired me to write the politics.net column.
Okay.
And it was right after the interactive edition had launched. They were one of the first to be online. And there was no technology page yet. And so I was politics.net there, and it was great, but I hated living in New York. And I got offered a job on the dark side, public affairs and lobbying. And I went back to DC because DC is my hometown.
Okay.
And I did that for a number of years. And the government of Puerto Rico was one of my clients. And I fell in love with this little island off the coast of Puerto Rico. Okay. And when I wasn't a client anymore, I kept going back on vacation. I got married there. And there was no wedding planner. And it was a miserable experience. Everyone had a good time at my wedding except me.
Of course. Well, that's the way it usually is.
Yeah. So we bought a vacation home there.
Okay.
My husband was a SWAT commander in DC. And when he was eligible to retire and my company was going through reorganization, we said, where do we want to be? Well, heck, we go to Vieques every time we have 4 days. Let's go. And we moved down there and I opened a wedding planning company. And we said 2 weddings a month would be, and we had 19 weddings our first August.
Wow.
It went crazy pants. We did more than 500 weddings in 11 years. My husband never got to retire. And he says that brides and wedding guests are much, much worse than being a SWAT team guy in DC.
Yes, I would agree with you on that for sure.
So,
absolutely.
And then we got picked up for a TV show while we were there, Wedding Island on TLC. And that was a lot of fun. It was about our company. We did 1 season because we were a real business. And it's very hard to film reality TV and actually run your business at the same time.
Sure.
So we did 1 season. But we were coasting along doing great and booked 2 years out. And Hurricane Maria took us out in a night.
Just like that.
Yeah, I mean, our house was fine. It was concrete. But there's no power on the island for 17 months. When we went back to meet the movers 12 months after the storm, we were still on generator. And you know what? I mean, it was a fun experience being down there, but we ended up coming back. And, I'm not super religious, but they use that expression, God shuts the door and opens a window.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty scary losing a whole company in a night.
Sure.
And then all we did was focus on helping with evacuations from the island initially, because we had experience with that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, a job offer came my way as editor of Blue Lives Matter and the Police Tribune.
Okay.
And so I made that transition, and I became editor of the nation's largest police publication. I did that for almost 8 years. I had like a cop Wikipedia on the couch, so it made it a lot easier.
Of course it does. Yeah, sure.
But I always wanted to write fiction, but I've never had time. I've always had a stack of people that were paying me to write, and you got to write what you're getting paid to write before you write the fun stuff.
True.
Writing is a guilty pleasure for me. Even blogging was a guilty pleasure. I love to write. I love to read. And that is fun stuff. That's not work. And so when we got to Jekyll Island, it was time for me to make a decision. Did I want to try and write what I always wanted to write? Or did I want to keep writing other people's stuff? And so I sat down and I started writing. And I'd had an idea when we bought the house, but I said I couldn't write it till I unpacked. Yeah, I'm still not unpacked.
I know how that
books.
is. I'm still not unpacked either, so I get you.
I don't understand. We did half the renovations in the house when we first got here, and we're doing the second half now. If I say the bedroom and wing, it makes it sound like a mansion, and it's not really. The house is just shaped like an L, and we did this part of the house in the first round of renovations, and now we're on this part, right, on the bedroom wing. I would like to know how it took me 3 years to get the house looking good, and approximately 3 days to undo everything. Everything.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a gift that most women have, is they can put something together so perfectly beautiful, and then 2 days, 3 days later decide they don't want it that way.
No.
wreck the
This
whole
is
place.
my husband and the contractor. I think I'm not going to take all the blame for this.
Okay.
I mean, I did the cleanup, but no, they're doing it. The contractor's doing an amazing job. Have you ever had popcorn ceilings, Joe?
Yes. When I moved into the asylum here, there were popcorn ceilings all through the whole house.
So you took them out?
Oh yes.
So did we. Is that
With all
not
speed.
the biggest dust experience you've ever had in your life?
Oh, I honestly had somebody come in and do it for me, and I wasn't even here.
Okay, we didn't do it ourselves. God, no. But we lived through it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't here when it was being done. I was actually visiting my family in New York. So why the popcorn ceilings, man? I know. When I moved into the asylum here, it was I had popcorn ceilings. I had wood paneling throughout the entire house. Yellow tile floors.
Oh my God, I have a yellow tile bathroom. I wish I would have taken photos for you.
Yeah, no, I still have mine. I'll send them over to you.
Okay, so the the guest bathroom had this yellow tile, like this tall. Now I'm short, but like all the way around it up to here. And the bathtub is that color, and the floor. And people come in and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so retro."
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly yes, exactly how I felt. I would have people come in and they would like, "Wow, you're not taking these down, are you? You're leaving the wall." What?
Okay,
No.
so my husband's armory. That's what it's not a man cave when you marry a cop. He has an armory. And in the armory,
I worked in law enforcement for 20 years.
You get it. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I'm the cop wife, right? So I'm a good sport. But here's an example of like, he doesn't have a whole lot of opinions. It's kind of like brides and grooms. A lot of times you plan a whole wedding with a bride, and if a groom says, "I would like this," you try to listen because they don't express that many things. Well, here's the weird one. My husband, there's like a 1970s intercom system in this house.
Nice.
Okay. So as we've gone room by
How
room,
retro.
we're taking out the intercoms, right? Because they're this big in the wall. And so each room we've taken out the intercoms, and teenage grandsons thought they were awesome. Maybe we can get them working. And the electrician's like, no. Like, those are old. Do not try to get them working. It's a great way to burn the house down. So anyway, I've been taking them out one at a time. And what do I hear my husband say to the contractor? "Don't take out the intercom in the armory." I'm like, why? I mean, we're having the walls done. This is the time. It's cool.
Yeah, I understand them. You know what I would think to do make it a false face, and behind that is a good
Put a gun
stash.
safe behind it.
Yes. It's a
Well,
good-
the house joke here is the reason this has got to get done now is we have got to get a bigger gun safe. And the painting and the carpet had to be done before you bring in a 1,900-pound gun safe.
Yeah.
Because you stuck with whatever you do in that room for forever after that.
Agreed.
So
Totally.
anyway, it's been quite an adventure, and rumor has it that we'll have it done by the end of the summer.
And then you're moving when? No, I'm kidding.
Never moving again. This is our forever home. God help us if the neighbors don't like us. We're never moving again. And my husband's theories now is that if we were to ever move again, we're burning it all and buying a new.
Oh, okay.
We're not moving.
Okay.
We're here.
Well, I applaud that. Bravo. The and for your tolerance. That's important. See, if you're going to be married to a cop, you have to have a good spirit about you. You have to be somewhat what's the word?
Have sense of humor.
Yes.
Dark humor.
Yes. And you have to be able to compromise. Yes.
Oh, very much so. But, I was a cop wife in D.C., and he was the district commander. And so when you're a cop wife, there's two kinds of cop wives. You tell me if you have a different opinion. There are cop wives whose husbands tell them everything about the job, and there are cop wives whose husbands tell them nothing.
Yeah.
People, and by the way, this tend not to be the marriages that last, because at the end of the day, being in law enforcement is such a part of their identity. If you aren't involved as a cop wife, it's a real problem, in the relationship down the road. Yeah. But no, I got quite baptized. Like, I was baptized by fire because he was a lieutenant when I started dating him. And you adopt the whole section, the cop wife role. I've never baked so many cookies in my life as taking them in for roll call. And also, so here I am, I'm in my late 20s, I'm dating this lieutenant. All my girlfriends are single, right? So I'd be like, anybody want to help me deliver Krispy Kremes to midnight roll call? I had a bunch of volunteers every time. Sure. My girlfriends all owned Krispy Kreme t-shirts. And they'd put a balloon out on the railing when we brought Krispy Kremes, because in DC there are 37 different departments.
Right.
So the balloon would be like, hey, District 2's got donuts. And they're warm. So, yeah, well, 4th of July, you never have a real normal holiday, when you're a police family. So 4th of July, every once in a while you go out and meet them someplace on duty, but usually we'd stay in the air conditioning and laugh. And then we go out there at 2:00 in the morning and start a barbecue up so that when the cops came off duty at 4 a.m., they'd have their own 4th of July barbecue in the district parking lot.
Nice.
It's fun stuff.
I know.
There's also not fun stuff, but
yeah, no, for sure. And just to back up for a second, I agree with you on there are cop relationships where the husband or wife, whoever's on the job, doesn't really talk, or they talk too much. I understand that, and I agree with you also that those relationships, those marriages where they don't talk, eventually do crumble. That was the result of my first marriage. I would talk about everything about the job up until 9/11 took place. And then after that, my ex-wife would say that he never talks. He doesn't tell me anything anymore. And we don't communicate. And that eventually led to a breakdown as it went along.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, that absolutely. And I have a lot of cop friends and cop wife friends. And one of the hardest things to watch is a lot of these cop wife social media groups like Facebook. And they're young, young 20s, new cop wives. And when they start complaining about he's never home or his hours, and they've only been married a few years, the older cop wives, we all talk to each other, and it's like, well, that's not going to last very long. I mean, welcome to being a cop wife.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they may love you more than anything in the world, but if somebody calls and says there's a crisis, they're going to run out the door. That's their job, and that's what they promised to do.
Exactly.
You got to be prepared to handle things on your end.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it doesn't even make a difference. It doesn't matter if it's a cop friend that makes the phone call off hours. You know, if your neighbor's having a problem, usually 9 out of 10 times, I was at the neighbor's place trying to help them out.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah, no, I remember we had not been in our neighborhood very long. We had just moved into this neighborhood, and it was a gentrifying neighborhood in DC near Catholic University called Brookland. And I remember standing in the bedroom folding laundry one night, and the windows were open, and it was spring. And I heard, "Get on the ground, get on the ground." One cop wife, ears go up, right? And my husband's across the hall putting things away. I mean, actually, we just moved in, putting things away. And I'm like, felony traffic stop out front. And he's like, "Got it." Like, I hear it like click. And then he's running down the stairs and he's like, "Call 911, advise that we, okay, got it." So I call, I say, "Off-duty cops, not in uniform, out front making this stop." I'm trained. I've been trained. And I make the call.
Good there. I'm getting goosebumps. Like,
yes, but he was backing up another cop. This lady, Dee Dee, who lived a few doors down across the street, her boyfriend was a detective in DC. He had been coming out to his own car and caught somebody trying to break into a car.
Wonderful.
And that's, when I heard him yell, and it was just cop wife automatic. But we living in the city, I always kind of made fun of the fact that these guys all move their wives way out in the suburbs. Like Damascus, which is like an hour outside DC, like everybody in the neighborhood's a cop. It's just how they do it. Well, we didn't have kids. My husband had children in his first marriage. And we lived on Capitol Hill, and then we lived in Brookland. And it was kind of cool because my husband was the highest ranking official in the city. So they'd ask him to cover meetings all the time in the evenings and on weekends. And he'd be like, "Sure, but I want a comp day to go to Puerto Rico." Like, that's a Saturday morning meeting. That's 2 comp days. And so he had his own thing worked out with that. But
his own shtick, yeah.
Yeah, he did. But when we moved into the house, we've been on Capitol Hill for several years. When we moved into this house in Brookland, turned out there were drug dealers around the corner who didn't want us there.
Nice.
Now, we hadn't seen them, and we'd researched it carefully. My husband would really check the neighborhood out, right? Before, it's just a cop gut thing. You would never move anywhere until you've.
Yeah.
But he didn't see any problems, and he checked it out for a good month or so. Well, it turned out we had fair weather drug dealers in our neighborhood. See, on Capitol Hill, the Marshall brothers who dealt up on the corner, they would just put on puffy snowsuits in the winter. They were still out there doing business. We did have a drug corner near our new house, but maybe they went to Florida in the winter. I don't know. But all of a sudden spring comes and there's this weird traffic going on, right? So my husband starts doing some digging and asking guys from other departments what they know. Turns out that around the corner, the grandma that owns that house used to be the neighborhood loan shark. And now there's a whole generation, unfortunately, where a lot of people died from cocaine and heroin and crack in the 90s, 80s and 90s. And so there's this whole generation of grandparents raising their grandchildren in DC because there's just a whole generation missing. But now these grandchildren are running the houses and dealing drugs. Now, in this case, it's not a trapped grandmother. I mean, she's probably coaching them. But they were around the corner, and they decided that they were just going to scare us out of there. And they started doing some weird things, circling our block on motorcycles, things like that. Not a good idea. Do not antagonize. Now my husband, by now, he's a police captain. Don't antagonize the local police captain. Because he started doing things like sitting out on our street to do his paperwork. For Halloween, he just put the cruiser in the middle of the closest intersection with all the lights on, and all the parents in the neighborhood loved it.
Of course, who wouldn't?
It's going great. But one night I was home alone, 11 o'clock at night. He was, I think, I don't know if he was deputy chief or evening watch commander at the time, but it was 11 o'clock at night, and I know this because I watched the news. I'm upstairs in my office, it was a row house, and we were on the end. So there's windows, master bedrooms in the front, and then I'm in my office in the middle, and then there's another bedroom in the back. And it was 11 o'clock, and I'm working at my desk, and I'm watching the news, and nothing has happened in the world. So we're 3 minutes in, and I flip it over to third watch because it's got to be more interesting, right? And I'm watching it, and I'm working, and I start hearing gunfire. And I look over at the TV because I hear bang, bang. but they're in the firehouse on TV. I'm like,
So there is no gunfire.
right. And I'm like, and then I leaned and I looked out my window and boom, just in time to see the shotgun go off.
Oh, geez.
So they unloaded handguns and a shotgun into my husband's vehicle in front of our house,
Oh, my God.
his personal vehicle. But of course, like even with a target as large as a Chevy Blazer, some of them went into the house and into our neighbor's air conditioning unit and everything else. Absolutely terrifying.
Sure.
I hit the floor like a cartoon. I went under my desk, needed a phone. There's 3 phones up there. Can't find any of them, right?
Of course
I
not.
just swept it all onto the floor, got a phone, called 911. Thank you for calling District of Columbia 911. Please hold. Oh, you're kidding. Like they're
Yeah.
shooting at me. So the other phone, I pick up a cell phone and I call my husband. And the crazy part was later when we did trial prep, I had to hear everything because from the minute you call 911, they're recording.
Sure.
So I could hear myself calling my husband on the other phone going, oh my God, they're shooting at us. You know, he's up in headquarters downtown and he came racing home. I got off hold with 911 shortly before he got there. But
Jeez.
yeah, but it didn't matter because he'd gotten on the radio and said I think he was a very high number. He was like Cruiser 7 or Cruiser 2 at the time. Like Cruiser 7 heading to my residence, shots fired, everybody's 10-7, but don't know what's going on outside. And his department was in roll call. And Bill was by far one of the most popular officials ever because he was a cop's cop. He was a street guy.
Yeah.
He was the one who got the MP5s approved for in the subway because
Okay,
there's less ricochet than shotguns. He was their
Yes.
firearms instructor for years. And so he's just really funny because he got on the air and was like, shots fired. And they said that the guys running out of roll call got jammed in the doorway.
Wow.
Because we were like 10 blocks from the substation. And I'll tell you what, if you ever get annoyed because you live somewhere with a lot of sirens, don't get annoyed because when you are the person waiting for help, those sirens are the most beautiful sound in the world.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me that once too when I was on the job. The greatest sound the greatest sound they've ever heard in their life was the day they heard us coming.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because, so I'm still on hold. My husband is hung up to get to me. I'm on hold and the house line rings. So I answer that and it's my next door neighbor, Cora. And basically what Cora said was, hey, little white girl, they are shooting at you. Get in the stairwell. Well, she's
Jesus.
my next door neighbor. And she was saying, get in the stairwell because it was the only place in the house with no windows.
All right.
It was
Makes
a
sense.
historic row house. And even on the roof, we had transoms. And so, and one time when our alarm went off, a glass break alarm went off, when we were on a camping trip, DC police put up a helicopter to make sure nobody had gone into our roof
Oh, wow.
because there were so many weapons inside.
Sure.
But no, it was crazy. But such a long story. I'll shorten it. End of the day, they matched bullets they pulled out of my neighbor's HVAC to 13 murders in DC.
Wow.
And we pushed very hard because
Holy
it turned out we were like the 3rd police family in the 5th district who have been shot at and threatened in their home within a 3-month period.
Mm.
And DC police was just like trying to pretend it wasn't happening. But after ours happened, we were all over the news. And oh my God, the gospel choirs came and sang in front of our house to ask us not to leave. They wanted cops living in the neighborhood, right? And so all these things happened. They matched these 13 murders. They found the bad guy because somebody dropped a tip, and they arrested this guy. These people went. The night before I was supposed to testify, my testimony was important because I hadn't lost somebody. I wasn't crying on the stand. I'm able to be like, I had an FHA loan and I couldn't even sell the damn house after they shot at me for 2 years. I had to keep living there. You know, I mean, these are the things I was angry about. I was afraid to live in my home. All the other witnesses were like, I lost a family member, you know, so.
Yeah.
But the night the night before, they called us and they said, everybody is taking life without parole in lieu of the death penalty.
Wow.
So we actually only had to testify at their sentencings. Now, what I have not looked up is to see if Trump's Fresh Start Act let them all out, because they were young. You know, I mean, they were over 18, but they were young. So I don't know if they're out now, and I don't want to know. And we don't go back and visit that neighborhood when we're back in DC.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
But so anyway, I've had the full cop life experience.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Well, the book series I wrote, I had just finished doing more than 500 weddings in the Caribbean, right? So my brain was on that. And the series is about, it's not autobiographical, but it draws from my experience. It's about a young wedding planner who loses her job in the Caribbean because of a hurricane.
Okay.
So she comes home to Jekyll Island, where she was raised, to start over. Actually, she thinks she's going to work on her resume and eat ice cream for a couple months. And her aunt says, get off your duff. There's no wedding planner here. Go start a company. And she does. She starts reconnecting with childhood friends, people she hasn't seen in years. She launches a company and she picks up a couple legit clients, and things are going well. And then weird things start going sideways. But one of the childhood friends she reconnected with is a little boy next door who grew up to be a hot state trooper. So her name is Tally. Tally and Mitch reconnect as friends. And Mitch is key to helping find out what's happening, who's messing with her business. Like, will her company succeed, or is somebody with a grudge going to undo her before she even makes it through book one? Well, spoiler alert, there are 5 books. She survives book 1. But there's a neat thing here, and that is I did the police family. The storyline underneath, there's mystery and suspense in every book, but it's also about becoming a cop wife, becoming a part of the cop family, what it's like saying goodbye to your husband every day, knowing that, you know, and I think all first responders and military, their wives go through this at different times, but what it's like kissing somebody goodbye, knowing that they're going to go out and risk their life for other people. And it's a whole different thing. People always say, what does a cop wife do when they hear there's been a shooting in their husband's department? And somebody said, oh my God, I would just pray. No, you wouldn't. You got to kill the Wi-Fi before your kids see it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole thing that cop wives have to follow in order to do things the right way.
It has to be calm and measured through the whole thing too. You can't lose it all at once.
You can't panic.
No.
You don't get to do the hysterical panicking until after you've seen your husband's okay. And then you can,
Exactly.
but you have to hold it all together. And we had, you know, I had some experiences. I was really lucky. When my husband retired, he hadn't shot anybody and he hadn't been shot. And that was pretty key with 30 years on the department and
That's
the kind
fantastic,
of stuff he
yeah.
did. Yeah. But I mean, a blessing.
Especially in a place like DC where crime was really out of control for a while.
He came home one night. And this is, I think we were just starting to live together. And he came in at 5 a.m. and he woke me up and he's like, oh my God, you have to hear this. Well, he was really annoyed, and he had been recording this one dispatcher who was just being really sloppy because he's borrowed the recorder I used from when I was a reporter and took it in the car with him. And so, but that night he and Sergeant Chairs, who was another cop that he was buddies with, he went to back up chairs at something, and you hear him yelling, get on the ground, and you hear like the MP5 coming out of its rack and like the and everything about it, and there's somebody running at him, and he had recorded it and he thought it was so cool. Don't ever wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning and play that for me in bed. Ever.
Yeah,
we had to make rules about that because that'll put me in therapy.
My partner and I, when we were on patrols, we would do stuff like that. We would, and then go home and then say, check this out.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean,
are you crazy?
Hey, I got my revenge. There was a blizzard one year, and we did rescue driving to take people into the hospitals because we had a Jeep. And we drove. It was really cool. They needed somebody to bring blood from the blood banks up in Baltimore area down to DC. And when they found out that we were a police couple that had volunteered, they're like, boom, that's who's going to get the blood. So we went to leave, and my husband put a police light on top of my Jeep in case we needed it. And then we went and we got on the BW Parkway, and it was closed, but we drove down it anyway because we had a police light. And he thought he was going to drive. Dude, this is the only time in my entire life I get to drive with police lights. You're not driving. Get out of the way. I got this. I got it. We did. We went and got the blood, and we brought it back to D.C. We're so proud of ourselves.
That's great. You know,
I got to drive with police lights.
You see now, look, for the folks listening and watching, I mean, you realize that, you know, police life stories are not always horrible. Some of them are really fun and funny. Like I have one for you. I could tell you. My partner and I, we were out on patrols, and we worked overnights, which was great. You know, we loved it. And there was a week straight that my partner was like, "You're driving tonight. I'm dead. I can't. I'm just too tired." All right, fine. I don't mind. So I'm driving, and he would constantly fall asleep. So
Yeah.
and it was. I was the kind of guy though. When I went to work, I didn't go to work to sleep. I went to work to work.
What
You
city
know?
were you in?
New York. So
Oh God, yeah. No, you don't sleep in New York. That's how you get shot.
So I actually there's a second part to this story too, but the first part of it is I got so annoyed with him one night that what I did is where our command was located was along the West Side Highway, and so we had the old piers along the West Side Highway, and there was one particular pier that it was a historical site. It was supposed to be the final destination for the Titanic, that obviously never showed up. So. And I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm just
No, I mean,
you know, but we had access to that because it was in our patrol sector, and you know they wanted us to make check out on this thing.
right.
So, so that one particular night, I decided, you know what, I'm done with this. So I drove the vehicle all the way out to the very, very, very end of the pier. I put it in park, locked the doors, took the keys, and I walked back to our command and left him sleeping in the car with no keys.
Oh my God. You and my husband would get along so well.
It was funny.
Well, it was. And my husband always says being a cop now isn't fun because they
No.
can't pull pranks on each other.
You can't. No, it's
Well,
impossible.
like his department, all the cars were keyed the same. And I mean, he'd be off duty and we'd be going somewhere and he'd see a cruiser park someplace that was borderline on what he would have said, hey, that's a great place to park.
Mhm.
And he'd be like, okay, hold on. And he'd get out and he'd move their car. I mean, that is such a mind.
Oh,
Anyway,
sure it is.
But and the pranks you boys played. Oh, Sergeant Chairs, same guy who was getting into trouble with on the other one. They caught I think do you guys call it cooping or hoodling? When you see police cars parked for the real
Yeah.
world, when you see
Canoodling.
police cars parked like this, they call it hoodling in DC. Some places they call it cooping. But it's when you see guys parked like this, they're either chatting or they're napping and they're both watching.
Yeah.
And so Chairs called Bill one night and said, and he's a different department. He's like, I got 4 guys napping. You have pepper ball gun, don't you? And this before my husband was with Metro and Chairs was DC, and DC didn't have pepper ball guns, Metro did. So as my husband describes it, from wherever they were, you could lay down. There was like a guardrail,
Mhm.
and they were on the side of the road looking under our guardrail and looking at these police cars. And the police cars, they've all got their windows cracked so they can hear what's going on. So Bill and Chairs just shot pepper balls in through the open windows.
Nice.
And one police car woke up, and this was what was so messed up. They flipped their lights on, and you saw them roll out, and they left the other car sleeping. Which is so messed up because if you have 4 cops, there should never be 4 cops sleeping. That's the whole point, right?
Correct. Yes.
Is that some of them are supposed to be awake watching. So this one guy just rolls out, and Sergeant Chairs is really annoyed that all of this is not okay. So he just starts shooting the pepper balls right at the air intake on the hood until it woke up
Of course.
the other car. Anyway, nothing was ever said. And a few days later, when Sergeant Chairs got to work and went out to his car, somebody had crushed pepper balls all over the floor. And he was like, oh, I guess they know who did it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I got
Yeah.
one for you. What we used to do is we would drive around. We would have the the latex gloves or the vinyl
yeah.
gloves,
Right.
and if
you don't want to touch anybody.
if we saw one of our vehicles parked someplace, Or we would do this also in the parking garage too. We would do this. We would go and we would tape the gloves to the exhaust pipes. This way, when they would start the vehicle up, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a story about my husband and his buddies lining the trunk of the car and the dashboards with firecrackers back in the day.
Yeah.
And they'd hit the ignition to when you turn on your police lights. So they'd rig up the car, and when shift change, you know how you have to get in the car, you got to check everything and make sure it works before you roll out.
Yep.
They caused some PTSD.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
The cars blow up. You can't fool around like that anymore, unfortunately.
No, you can't. You
I
can't.
say unfortunately, but I think that the laughing in the background kept cops from losing their stuff for a long time.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
And now when they can't be funny, they can't joke around, it makes it a more difficult work environment.
You do develop that type of like gallows humor. And, you know, so things that you normally wouldn't laugh at, cops laugh at because you see it all the time. So, but here's another story, just to explain what I said about my partner that's sleeping all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I got called in to the office one day by our commanding officer, and he looked dead serious, like he was. I couldn't tell if he was angry or really concerned, and and he pulls out the logbooks. All right, now what we would do is after the shift we would take our summons count or ticket count, and we'd have to log it in, right, to keep accountability for what you did, and to also track the movement of the summons through the systems. So so he calls me and he goes, "Hey, yeah, Joe, come here. I want to talk to you about something." I was like, "Yeah, sure. What's up?" "Close the door." Okay, close the door. And he sits down. He looks at the logbook and he goes, "No, sit. Go ahead, sit down." "Oh, I'm going to be here for a while." Yeah, there's going to be a bit. So he's going through the logbooks and he says, "How long have you been here on the overnight?" "I don't know, 6 months now." Now I know him. He was one of my academy instructors, so he knows who I am. I mean, we've done stuff together before. It's like I just met this guy 6 months ago. He knows who I am. He knows me. And when he was a special operations sergeant, he knew me because I worked with him a little bit, you know, on certain details. He's looking through the summons, the logbooks, and he says, "I have a question for you." He goes, and I can't believe I'm going to ask you this question, but I got to ask: are these legit? Or what legit?
The fact that you were actually doing work while you were working?
He goes, "Your summons count." I'm like, "Of course it is. What are you talking about?" And he's like, because prior to you getting here, if I got your single day summons count over 6 months, that was a lot from the overnight.
My husband he would, on his way home, once he became more official and he couldn't be on the street, he used to stop and arrest people on the way home because he needed to. He hated being a paperwork cop. And then he would call whoever hasn't had a booking or whoever he hasn't heard lock somebody up in the last day or two. And he'd be like, "Book him, Dano." And if they griped at him or made a face, he'd be like, "Excuse me, if you had your own lockup, you wouldn't have to take mine."
Yeah, you know, collars for dollars, we used to call
So
them.
did you set a record for lockups and summonses in your district?
Not so much of the lockups. I don't, because I'd prefer, if I was able to avoid the paperwork. I'm saying as my career progressed, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you were hoarding overtime.
Well, again, collars for dollars, we used to call it. So, you know, I hadn't done that for a long time, but later on, my arrest counts started to drop, but my criminal summonses started to increase. Now in New York, they have different types of tickets you can give out. You have criminal summonses, you have criminal, civil, moving violations, and then I forgot what the fourth one is now, but it'll come back to me. It's been a while. So what I would do is if I could issue a summons in lieu of arrest, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
You know, because I did not want to sit and have to go through all the headache of going through the paperwork and
Well, it's worse for midnight cops because you get off your shift and you roll into sitting there waiting to paper whatever the arrest was, and nobody really realizes there's absolutely no workaround put together for law enforcement, who are scheduled to work again at 10 or 11 the next night, but they might be in court all day. And it's great if you're trying to rack up the overtime and you're a young cop.
yes,
But once you get to a certain age, it's dangerous for cops to be super tired when they're out on the street. You know, these cops aren't sleeping because they're lazy butts. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but
my partner
most of them are. Okay, there you go. But most of them are sleeping because they're on a treadmill when you don't work daytime shift. It's not like, night court is not like a real thing, where everything gets done. Because you're a midnight cop, you don't get to go to night court. It's not how it works.
You have to wait. You have to wait for your appearance, and sometimes it takes hours and hours and hours.
Mm-hmm. That's why cops are so good at sleeping anywhere that they sit down.
Well, you learn how to sleep standing up.
Yeah, my husband's not as good at that, but he can sleep upright in the most uncomfortable chairs.
I was a pro at that. We had to work a detail once. We had to work the New York City Marathon, and they put us out on post, and they forgot that we were out there. Now I was brand new on the job. It's my first real major event assignment after academy. So we're standing.
When the Puerto Rican Day Parade, that would have been far more interesting.
Well, yeah, I worked that one too. That was always a fun event. But the New York City Marathon is brutally cold. You're standing out there on a foot post. You're out there for
Halloween weekend, right?
November 1st usually, the first weekend in November. So so we're standing out there. We're freezing. They haven't sent any relief for us to get a break, bathroom or otherwise. And you're standing and I was so tired. I was there from 6 a.m. and it was already almost 6 p.m., no relief. And I actually learned how to stand my post sleeping with my eyes half open.
So dangerous.
Incredibly. But you're also, you also kind of, it's a weird thing though, because inside your mind, that not a good environment to be in to do something like that. But then also you're looking at, well, it's the New York City Marathon. And there are people everywhere, all over the place.
This is before the Boston Marathon, I bet.
Yes, yeah. So much before. You're talking. This was 95, maybe 96. Yeah, 96 was my first marathon event. Yeah, because 95 I started. So it was it was crazy. You're out there, you're falling asleep on the post. And it's great. I also took some time off and I worked for the U.S. Department of State. I did diplomatic security service. The uniform branch of it. Now there you learn how to sleep standing up.
Oh, for sure. I know a lot of guys who are overseas doing the dip protection.
Yeah. Yeah,
they retire and then go do that stuff. That's hard and scary.
It's fun.
When we were planning weddings, this is kind of cool. We bonded with the cops on Little Vieques Island. It makes sense. It's like we're part of the police family. And we made friends with, there aren't a lot of feds on Vieques, but we made good friends with the Fish and Wildlife guys that were there. And it was so much fun because our setup and teardown crews at weddings were off-duty Puerto Rican cops.
Okay.
And we didn't, certain clients, I'd let them know. Yeah, if they're worried about security, I'd be like, we got this. But true story, when we filmed our TLC show, Wedding Island, if you watch the show, it still streams. You can play the game, find the gun. Because everybody on our setup and teardown crews and my husband were armed all the time. And I remember our producer being like, can they? No, they can't be disarmed. They really arrest people. There are really people that want to shoot them. No, this is how it works. You work around it or you film it.
Yep.
But,
and that's a great point, by the way, the fact that, you arrest people and then people want to kill you for it. Because I'll tell you one last story because we got to wrap this up already. I was still kind of new on the job, maybe 2 years on the job, and and I was working and I made an arrest, and it was for drugs. It was a small amount. It was nothing crazy. The guy was back out on the street, probably within 3 hours of the whole thing. The next day, I went out to dinner with my now ex-wife and our newborn little girl, and we walk into the restaurant, and who is sitting at the table right next to us?
The guy you'd arrested.
Yep.
My
So now
husband
this guy-
ran into one in Toys R Us.
Yeah. So now this guy knows my family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and all that stuff, and that's part of the risk you take. You know, it's not the easiest. Not my son told me not too long ago that he wanted to get on the job, and I said no, absolutely not.
My husband says become a firefighter or join the Coast Guard.
I told my son, you know what? If you're going to do any kind of city service, go work for sanitation.
It's not a bad idea.
You'll make
But
more money, and it's.
Is he in New York?
Well, now he's in Pennsylvania, but this was
Okay.
this was not too long ago. So you know, you work for sanitation. It's infinitely safer, and you'll make more money. Believe it or not. So,
After he retired, my husband switched to preaching that if you really want to do this, do firefighter. Like, you know, nobody wants to kill the firefighters. Everybody loves the firefighters. Well, then the whole Freddie Gray thing went down in Baltimore, and we watched live on TV while rioters cut the fire hoses, putting out the CVS.
yeah, I remember that.
And that was when they started, I think it was Ferguson, they had to put the firefighters into bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
And now my husband says join the Coast Guard.
And not a bad deal. Coast Guard's not, you know, coasties are fun.
Exactly.
We used to call them puddle pirates.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you something. It's been fun to write the books because I draw from experience of all the years. I mean, they're not about my DC years. There's a book coming eventually. Wow, you know? I mean, like, we lived through a lot up there.
And the book is Gem of the Golden Isles, right?
Well, it's a series called Gem of the Golden Isles. And the first book is Escape to Jekyll Island. Then there's In Bloom on Jekyll Island. Treasure on Jekyll won an International Impact Book Award in 2025 for mystery and suspense.
Okay.
Then In the Shadows on Jekyll, and then Christmas on Jekyll. And there's a new series that'll start coming out. The new series takes place on St. Simon's Island next door, called Under the Oaks, and we'll see those late this summer starting to come out. And I've written a standalone book too, called Thicker Than Blood, about a patriarchal society family, totally different from anything else I've written. Very dark, think like V.C. Andrews-esque families. And it's told by 3 generations of women in the same family, and that will be coming out this fall.
Outstanding. Wow. I'm glad we got the pitches in for the book. I mean, we don't nothing about
I know.
it.
I can talk cop stuff with you all day long because
So can I.
This was fun.
This
And
is
I'm
great.
going to get in trouble because I didn't talk about my books. So you
Well,
got
you
to
did.
invite me back to talk about books sometime.
You did talk about your books toward the end, and yes, you are welcome to come back anytime you like. So we'll definitely get that squared away.
So much fun, Joe. I appreciate
Oh, this was
being here.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Sandy, for being with us. I really do appreciate it. Before we wrap up, really quickly, who is someone that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. A lot of people I respect. How about I respect all the guys in law enforcement right now that are dealing with such a controversial world where people want law enforcement in their lives, but it's been politicized so much. It's just hard to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I have respect for the people who put the uniform on every day, knowing how many people are mad at them, sometimes for really wrong reasons, and go out there and keep us safe.
Beautiful. I love it. Where can we go to find out more about you and about your work?
SandyMalone.com. My books are available there, and the website has lots of info about me. On Facebook, it's Sandy Malone With, stands for Sandy Malone Weddings in Vieques. And on Instagram, it's Sandy N. Malone.
Outstanding, outstanding. And I think I just have your website. So if you want to email me the other links, I can make sure they get into the show notes.
I will be happy to send them to you. And Google Sandy Malone. If it has to do with weddings, you'll find me.
All right. Outstanding. All right, Sandy, thank you so much for being with us today. I really, really do appreciate it. And you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, have a great weekend, Joe.
You too. Take care now.
Bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye. All right, folks, Sandy Malone. That was a great conversation. That totally did not cover anything that we had originally planned for our conversation, but that's fine. That's what I love about doing this show. This is just one of those spontaneous conversational shows that we just really like to just get to the genuine person. So that's great. I really appreciate that. All right, shout-outs, of course, to our producing team, executive producers Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, Marissa Lee, and, of course, the inestimable Anonymous Angela. These folks donate their time, their talent, and their treasure. We call it the 3 T's, and it's all part of our value for value system. Value for value simply means that if you are receiving anything of value from the content we're putting out, we're asking you to return that value in the form of a donation. And again, that could be your time, your talent, your treasure. And that's what these folks do. We greatly appreciate it. Really couldn't do a lot of the stuff that we do without their support, whether it's them donating their time to help us do research and put things together, their talent in graphics and website stuff, or their treasure, which is self-explanatory, pays the bills. So we really do appreciate it. And you can be part of that too, very simply by heading over to our website. That's joerooz.com/support, joerooz.com/support. And when you get there, you'll find out all the different ways that you can help pitch in here and keep this thing going. All right. Well, with that said, how about some final thoughts? All right. Now, tonight, our conversation with Sandy is a reminder that life can change in an instant. The stories that she told about law enforcement background, law enforcement relationships, the background that she came from. You know, businesses fail, storms come, plans collapse. And then sometimes, you know, the thing you built your whole identity around just disappears. But what really matters is what comes next. There's really something very powerful about people who rebuild instead of surrendering. Not because it's easy, because it certainly isn't. It's because they refuse to stay buried under the wreckage of what was. You know, in a world that is obsessed with appearances and curated perfection and all of that, real resilience still matters, and that's what this show is about. Real conversations, real people, and real life. All right. Well, folks, thank you again for being with us tonight. Really do appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you to our guest, Sandy Malone. She has been fantastic, and we look forward to having her back on here again with us. All right, folks. Again, thank you for taking the time to be with us. Don't forget the website, joerooz.com, joerooz.com. Let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. All right. With that said, make Texas independent again. Go podcasting. Keep a steady stride. And more importantly, folks, keep talking. You have a great night. Take care now.